Okay, so today I'm going to do a review on the MS170. It's by Stihl, and I'm going to go ahead. I've had this thing for well over a year, and I'm going to go ahead and break it down. And first thing I'm going to do here is show how to go ahead and put fuel in it. I'm also going to show the most important thing that everyone just seems to neglect, especially new people to chainsaws, which is knowing how to sharpen properly a chainsaw and keep your blade up to par. I mean, that is just so freaking important. The blade that I have on there right now, it's shot. What I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put another old one on, but it's not quite as shot as this one. Like, I went ahead and I was like, this one has a little bit of meat left, but I'm going to go ahead and get a new one. And I put this one on here. But I'm going to go ahead and put the one that was on here before. I'm going to show how to sharpen that one because that'll be a very good example. I mean, this one is so far gone that I can't even sharpen it. I mean, it wouldn't even make sense to sharpen it because it doesn't have anything left. But I'll show how to sharpen it real quick. And what you want to use for filling these up is just any kind of chainsaw bar oil. You want a little bit of a thinner viscosity when it's winter time, if you can find that. I mean, all season will work. Sometimes they got winter ones, sometimes they got summer ones. You know, you just really want, to look for either an all season or use a summer formula or a winter formula, just whenever you're running. I generally don't worry too terrible much about the chain oil that I use. I'll use pretty much anything. So this is how you fill it up here. I mean, I'll even put old motor oil in it. And I've been doing that with this, and I mean, that's not recommended at all. You'll have problems occasionally. But I mean, here I just use some OW20 synthetic, as you can see. Just wherever you got around will work in a pinch, but I mean, you should put the right stuff in. Okay, so that's how you go ahead and you put the bar and chain oil right there, and you put the gas and fuel mixture right there. And the fuel mixture used for this particular saw and pretty much most chainsaws, it's 50-to-1 mix, and basically what that is it's 2.6 ounces of two-stroke oil to 1 gallon of gasoline. So make sure you don't mess that up, because if you mess that up, you're going to have some serious problems. Okay, so when you're sharpening the chain, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and take this thing off here first. Okay, the way you take the chain off on a chainsaw, this chainsaw in particular, is first thing you do, you go ahead and pop over here, loosen this up, boom, and then boom, just like so. Very simple. Okay, and then what you want to go ahead and do is hop over here and see that screw right there? Go ahead and loosen that bad boy up. Pretty simple. Okay, and then hop back over here. Get these two nuts off. Do not lose them. Do not lose these. It will be a nightmare. They're pretty... I mean, you can have extra ones on hand because a lot of times when you're using saws and stuff, you'll probably be in the woods doing this stuff. Like, I'm going to show you here how the way I sharpen saws. You can do it in the woods and it doesn't require a file, and it's pretty gosh darn quick. Boom, right off there. Okay, and I had to drill that in there because I was experimenting with something, but don't pay that in your mind. All right, this chain here is done. I mean, you can't, maybe you can see, I mean, she's down to the very end there. So I'm putting on this other old chain, but it's not quite as far done as that one is. Okay, so all right, and to put the chain on, of course, you want to make sure that your teeth are going in that direction. And every time I do a chain change, what I do is I flip the bar like so. And that way you just wear the bar evenly, a little bit more evenly. All right, so I took, took all that off and what have you. What I'll do here is I'll go ahead and loosen this all the way up before I put the chain on. All right, she's all the way back. This actually started coming this way. You don't want to take this off because everything will come apart and it'll be a disaster. So you make sure you got your chain in the right direction. Plop it right on top here like so. Plop that right there. I like to have it off the edge. It just kind of makes things a little bit easier. And boom, it's on there. And then what you can do here is actually a regular screwdriver is a little bit easier for this. You get that about like so. Then you go ahead and you grab your 2 nuts. And I'm going to show this thing in action after I sharpen it up. I have a very thick, very difficult tree that I'm going to log later down the road. But I'm going to go ahead and use this little tiny bar and this little tiny saw doing that very difficult tree there. So that's going to be pretty cool here coming up. Just plop this on here. Get your nuts on there, and of course, you know, different people do this differently. I mean, I've seen people take a really long time to do this because they just, I don't know, they don't have the finesse or something. I don't know, but it shouldn't take you a real long time to switch out chains. Get that tightish, not super tight. And this is very important here because what will happen is if you don't do this and you get everything tight without doing this, what will happen is when you go using your saw, it's gonna do one of those. Okay, it's gonna basically push this up, and what it'll do is it'll loosen your chain up, and you don't want that. All right. So this is very important here. You want to make sure that you push this down and then tighten up. Because like I said, if you don't do that, your chain will keep loosening and you'll wonder why. You won't know what the heck's going on. See, that's pretty good tightness there. Now I'm happy with that. I'll go ahead and put a little extra torque on her. You don't want to do too much because you'll break your studs here if you overdo it. And that feels pretty good. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and show how I sharpen this. I'll just use a DeWalt drywall cutout tool, and you gotta have 2 pretty good charged batteries. These are both 4 amp hours to do this completely, you know, correctly. And I'll show how I do this real quick right here. I mean, this freaking chain is missing teeth and everything. It's not in the best of shape. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and start right there. Alright, and sometimes what you want to do, like every 3rd time you sharpen it, what you want to do is go ahead and bring these down as well. And you can use either the thing that you use to sharpen this with, or you can use a larger grinding stone. But basically what that looks like is you just hit for like 3 seconds. All the way around. Like do that, you know, every now and then. Like if you notice like you're sharpening it and it's still not freaking cutting right, then it's probably that. All right, like I said, this is a over 1 year review that I've had this thing, and I did like a 1 month review on it, and I processed this firewood right here when I did that review. I'll put the link to that video in the description so that you can watch that too if you want to. But you know, I've had this thing for a while, and I mean, as you can see, I actually processed this with this saw like over a year ago. All right, since I bought this saw, you have been here for the whole entire journey. How much wood do you think that I've gone ahead and processed and used? How much do you think I've used this saw here?
Well, I mean, you built a house with it. For some reason, you insist on cutting down giant trees with this tiny chainsaw. We've processed a bunch of wood. You've milled lumber with it. I'm gonna have to go with like 17.
All right, what was supposed to happen there was the root ball was supposed to go ahead and flop back into place where it was, but this tree, sometimes they just don't freaking do it, you know. But you gotta watch out for that. If you're about to cut a tree that uprooted, you gotta make sure that, you know, you gotta think that that's gonna happen. It's not gonna do typically what a tree's gonna do when you're cutting down on it. You know, you don't wedge the top, you don't have to, because it'll just kind of hold everything in place. All right, well, I tried really hard to show the root ball falling backwards using the MS170. That didn't happen, but what did happen is I went ahead and found this over here, which is pretty freaking cool, I think. Look at that guy there. That's a nice one. Look, it's even still got the, see? That's a really nice rack. It's not even ate up by anything. Wow, check that out. But basically that's all. It's been really good. I've done a whole lot of different kinds of work with it. And I mean, I have no complaints as long as you use it correctly and it's not operator error. You will not have any issues with it.
All right, so one good thing came out of following Jake around in the woods. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.